R360 is a league of the rarest of individuals who've accumulated extraordinary wealth, yet they have audacious dreams to change the world for the better. We teach them how to grow their wealth way beyond money. Have you ever heard the proverb, give someone a fish, you feed them for a day? Teach them to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. Well, we believe that the same fundamentals apply to money. R360 teaches individuals and families that to achieve your full potential, you need to discover all forms of capital: financial, intellectual, social, human, emotional, and spiritual, which spells fishes. And learning how to catch these fishes is what R360 families master. Welcome to Fortunate Fishes, Secrets of Success from R360. I'm Charlie Garcia. Meet Hillel Presser, a lawyer, entrepreneur, and real estate investor whose life is driven by an unyielding commitment to his family. One of the first students to earn a degree in entrepreneurship at Syracuse University, Hillel went on to create a leading asset protection law firm. His ventures span real estate investments to writing bestsellers on asset protection, all underscored by his unwavering pursuit of excellence. Hillel Presser is not just a name, but a brand that's conquered every medium, from the polished pages of Forbes to the dynamic world of Sports Illustrated. Seen on Fox? Check. Bravo, NBC, ABC, CBS? Check. He's a global phenomenon with accolades from the US to Canada to the United Kingdom. He's the architect behind the success of the elite, business giants, medical innovators, celebrities, and the athletes you cheer for. Hillel doesn't just represent the best, he is the best. Each chapter of Hillel's life underlines his dedication to securing the futures of those around him. Join us as we dive into his life lessons, where the confluence of family, entrepreneurship, and legacy paints the portrait of a man who not only dreams big, but also lives those dreams. So Hillel, thank you for being here. Very excited to talk to you today, and also I have to thank you for R360 even being around in the first place, since you were the one that pushed it, and that's why you remember 000.
Well, I believed in you, and I believed in the concept, and I think it's just been fantastic.
So what we're trying to do here is help others to be successful in life, if they're entrepreneurs, or build wealth, and just have a robust, purposeful life. But starting with financial capital, what was the trigger in your life that went off that said, okay, I'm going to go out and create great wealth?
Sure. So my father grew up very poor in New York City. I always tell the story, he had his medical license before his driver's license because there was no way he could ever afford a car. In fact, I remember him telling me the story that in his 20s, he received his sister's bike, which he thought he was so lucky about, but everyone would make fun of him because it was a female bike. So my father, from a very young age, always taught me to work hard. And it wasn't just things that he said, it's things that he did. So he showed me. My father was a dermatologist, Mohs surgeon, very successful. But when you compared him to others in the family, maybe not even near the most successful. I grew up in a very business-oriented family where everyone in the family was very, very successful. Whether they were running $100 million companies, owning billion-dollar professional sports teams, I was taught at a very young age that I literally could have anything I wanted as long as I made it on my own and nobody was going to give it to me. So seeing the wealth and seeing the business success really motivated me, and I knew that nobody was going to hand it to me and I had to do everything on my own.
Can I push a little bit?
Please.
So I think also from knowing you and hearing a lot of stories, your father was very frugal. And you did have friends that had things that you didn't have. And I think what you're saying is if you wanted those things, you had to go work for it and get it yourself, and you did.
and I wouldn't even use the word was, I'd use the word is.
Right.
I try and convince my father, he lives in upstate New York, he'll drive a car for 10 or 12 years until it breaks down on the side of the road and he can donate it. And, I try and convince him just to get something nice. He's earned it, but, mentally he just can't do it. And those things aren't important to him. And, growing up, I'd see my friends, when they were 16, they'd get a car. They may even get a Jeep for the winter and a Mercedes for the summer. Well, when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, I was lucky if I could drive my dad's 10-year-old minivan, and I was hoping it wouldn't break down on the side of the road. And I used to tease my dad, and I'd say, Dad, I'm the only doctor's son without a car.
So I think if I was asking your dad this, what he would probably say is that I always knew Hillel was going to be very successful and wealthy because when he was just a little boy of 12, he was addicted to Monopoly, and he always won. Tell us about that.
That is true. I loved Monopoly. We'd play till the wee hours of the night, and yes, I always did win. I remember I was dating a girl once, and we were playing Monopoly with her family. I actually went bankrupt, but I convinced them to lend me some money, which they did, and then I won the game. But probably even a funnier story is, I'll never forget, is, when I got into college, I wanted to go to Syracuse University, and I received this letter in the mail. And when you read the letter, it said, because of your academic scholarship, we're going to give you, $15,000 per year towards the tuition. Now, I was very lucky that my father believed in education, and the one thing my father would pay for was education. Anything related to education, he would pay. So I took the letter to my father and I said, Dad, $15,000 a year, 4 years of college, that's $60,000. I'll take it now in cash. And that's when I learned. My dad said, let me see that letter. And he looked at the letter and he looked at the bottom and he said, upon full payment of tuition. And my dad looked at me and he said, you pay the full tuition, I'll give you the $60,000. And that's when I learned the big print giveth, the small print taketh away.
That's great. Well, you mentioned Syracuse University. Now, a lot of people go to the university, have no idea what they want to do. But my understanding is you're the first person to graduate with an entrepreneurship degree, and they were pushing you like, well, what's your minor? Like, tell us about the importance of that focus, and then later, even before getting a law degree, getting an MBA.
Sure. So, I always loved business and I always loved law. If you asked me when I was 10 years old what I was going to be, I would have told you a business owner / attorney, and that's exactly what I did. I had businesses my entire life, whether it was being a kid, selling candy on the bus. When I was in college, we had big parties every week where I would send luxury buses to each dorm to pick the kids up. I had an inflatable laser tag arena that would travel to all the state fairs. We brought oxygen bars in. So I always loved business, always loved law. And when I picked my major, which was entrepreneurship, they said to me, no, you need a minor. Is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be accounting? No one's ever done that. And I said, absolutely not. I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and I didn't need a minor.
Wow. In this journey of creating wealth, and you are a real estate investor, you're one of the top asset protection lawyers in the country, you've been an entrepreneur. What lessons have you learned from some of the mistakes that you've made, and what kind of takeaways could you give to others that are really valuable for you, and you'd want to know about now?
Sure. Well, if we sat here to talk about my mistakes, we'd probably be here all day. But a few maybe key lessons I've learned is, number one, you have to do what you love. Don't ever do anything for the money. Do what you love, work hard, and the money will come. And you need to make sure that you have teachers. You need to make sure that you have mentors. Relationships are so important. Don't worry about how much you're going to make. Worry about finding the best person to teach you. When I met my mentor, who was one of the biggest asset protection attorneys in the country, I told him, I said, I'll come work for you for free for 6 months. If I'm not the best employee you've ever had, we'll go our separate ways. When he wouldn't hire me for free, I then hired him and paid him to be my lawyer. I did that because I wanted to learn and I wanted to build the relationship. You know, I came in the front door, he threw me out the back door. I came in the back door, he threw me out the chimney. So find what you love, work hard, and find a mentor that can teach you. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about it at all. If you do a good job and you work hard and you show value, the money will always come.
Right. So you've said something very important. And when I got into financial services and I moved to Florida from New York, I found a guy in a book. He was in a book called Market Wizards. And I literally sat in it. He wouldn't talk to me. It took me 3 weeks of sitting in his office all day. And he finally took me to lunch and we started a partnership. But you have a similar story. And I imagine this mentor said, but you have no assets. What the? Yeah. But you kept at it, and didn't you also set up a national organization with them? Tell us how the importance of being persistent when you find the right person.
Absolutely. So the short version is I set up a meeting to go meet with him. I saw on his website that he was wearing a blue suit and a red tie, so I put on a blue suit and a red tie. I figured if he liked it, maybe he'll like it if I wear it. I went to meet with him. I told him I wanted to work for him, and he said, "You're great, but I just hired someone and I can't step on his toes." I then offered to work for free for 6 months. I left. I knew I had a job because I was working for free, and I sent him a thank you note. The problem was when I followed up week 1, week 2, week 3, he wasn't answering my calls. Finally, week 4, he told me, "I'm sorry, I can't hire you." I said, "What do you mean you can't hire me?" I said, "I'm working for free." He said, "I know you'll be great, but I just can't step on that other attorney's toes." So that's when I decided I was going to hire him. So I said to him, "No problem. You won't hire me. You won't let me work for free. I'm going to hire you." He looked at me. I was a kid. He said, "First of all, you don't have any assets to protect. And second of all, you know how to do it." I said, "I don't care. I'm going to hire you."
And how old were you at the time, and how old was he?
I was in my low 20s, and he was probably in his 60s or 70s. And after that, we started building a relationship because we were working on my case. Well, every year they would host an asset protection seminar conference in Las Vegas. I actually ended up starting hosting my own conference in Zurich, Switzerland, Liechtenstein. But when we were going to the conference, I called his secretary and I made sure I got on the same plane as him. So then we had coffee and a muffin before we got on a plane. I stayed at the same hotel as him. We had lunch together every day and we formed this relationship. And while we were there, we said, you know, there's really very few people in the whole country that do asset protection. And on the spot, we started the National Association of Asset Protection Attorneys. He was the president and I was the vice president. So now when we came back to Florida, we were meeting on my case, but we were also meeting on the organization. Now, keep in mind, this is a year after I went into his office saying, "I want to work for free."
Wow.
He then calls me into his office one day on a Monday, and I knew something was going on because I just met with him last week, and we didn't meet that often. And he looked me in the eye. I'll never forget it. He said, "There's a time in every man's career to go up, and there's a time in every man's career to go down. This is your time to go up. This is my time to go down." I looked at him. I was a kid. I didn't even understand what he was saying. He said, "It's a Hail Mary pass, but let's give it a shot." He said, "Pretend you're on a cruise ship and the captain died."
Wow.
He said, "Here are the keys to my office."
Did he have cancer or what?
Nope.
No?
And
Wow.
he did have health issues
Right.
later, but not that at the time. And he looked at me, handed me the keys to his office, and made me a 50-50 partner. Now, at that point, his business was probably doing a little over $1 million. But, you know, for someone in their low 20s, being a 50% partner, that was a big deal. So this was the guy who wouldn't allow me to work for free. A year or a year and a half later was giving me 50% of his entire business.
So this is like the you know, someone tells you no, and what goes through your mind is, he's telling me no because he doesn't understand significantly.
Well, you mean no, not now.
Right. No,
But how about in 20 minutes? How about in 30 minutes? Well, how about tomorrow?
Right. So that's a mindset. So let's go to intellectual capital, because how important is a growth mindset? How do you cultivate it, and what advice do you have for others about this kind of consistently growing and
Yeah.
learning?
Well, listen, I mean, you either grow or die. And that's the reality. You know, with technology changing so much, with the world changing so much, it's so different now than from when I was a kid. If you don't grow, you die. And unfortunately, half of it you're born with. Either you're born with that fire in the belly where you want to grow, where you want to do things, and it's never enough. My father, he would look at me and he calls it the disease of more. Some people say, well, what's your number? There's no number, It's more. It's not about the number. The number is just the scorecard. It's about that feeling you get of accomplishment. It's the fire in the belly.
Right.
And another thing you need to do is you need to stay motivated. And there's things that could take you off track. And it's always good to have a mentor, a friend, somebody who can hold you accountable.
Right. So, you're 42, and you mentioned a lot of this happened in your 20s. But if you had to write a letter to yourself, knowing everything you know now at 42, what would you tell your 22-year-old self?
Yeah. A lot of things, but number one, stay in your own lane. It's so easy to get unfocused because you see somebody and maybe they're doing better than you, maybe they're doing worse than you. But you need to stay in your own lane. And I brought up my father a lot in this interview, but I'll never forget this story he told me. My father went to college on a swimming scholarship, and he was very poor, otherwise he wouldn't have went. And I'll never forget the story. He was racing with two other people. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the race, he came in dead last, and he always came in dead last. And the guy who came in first always came in first. And when they got out of the pool, my dad was shaking the water off his body. The coach was saying to him, great job, Steve, you did it. My dad's like, what are you talking about? I came in dead last, and I always came in dead last. Meanwhile, the coach is yelling at the guy who came in first. Terrible job. This is the guy who always wins.
Right.
And my dad walked up to the swimming coach and he said, I don't get it. He said, Steve, you came in dead last, but you swam the best time you've ever swam. And he came in first, but he swam the slowest time he ever swam. So the lesson I learned is you need to stay laser focused and you need to stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just worry about what you're doing.
Excellent. So you read a lot. You're a best-selling author of several books on asset protection, but is there a book on life, success, entrepreneurship that you have given away a lot that you would recommend?
So if I'm not giving out my book, probably the book I give away the most is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what the rich teach their kids that the poor and middle class don't. It's by Robert Kiyosaki. I think it's a great starter general business book that really helps you quarterback the mindset. And in fact, my son Sebastian, he's now 8, but when he was 7, we started reading that book every night together.
Tell us more about the book, because a lot of the book is about the concept of cash flow. And I remember being at a restaurant with you and Sebastian, and you were asking Sebastian questions, and he was answering them at age 7. Tell us what those questions were, those answers, and why that book is so important for us to read and teach our kids as well.
Yeah. So one of the main things I focus on with Sebastian is business. So I teach Sebastian that if there's anything you want to buy, whether it's a watch or whether it's a phone or anything it is, you need to make money. So the first thing I talk to him about is how do you make that money? And there's different ways to make it. One of the things may be going to the office. Well, I teach him, what's the first thing you do when you get into the office? And he knows. You go to every single person, everyone on your team, and you say hello and good morning. And I teach him what are things that you do at the office to make money. The next thing I teach him is what do you do with that money? So if you say to Sebastian, once you make money, what do you do with it? His answer will be, well, Dad, you buy a building. Right. And I'll say to him, well, why do you buy a building? And he'll say, because you let people use it and then they pay you rent. And then I'll ask him, what do you do with that money? And he'll say, you buy another building. So my goal is to teach Sebastian, A, how to make money, how to be self-sufficient, but not just how to make the money, what do you do with the money? Because it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And that book gives a lot of different information about assets, liabilities, cash flow. And again, it's for a starter, right, but it's a very, very great general business book.
Right. Let's shift to social capital. Helping others is something that has been ingrained with you. Your father's a doctor. Your mom had a degree in sociology. And how do you think about taking the blessings that you've created for yourself, for your family, and helping others?
So I love helping others in 2 or 3 main ways. Number one is obviously just through my normal practice. I'm an asset protection attorney, so I help people protect their money from lawsuits. You know, I always joke that I'm the lawyer that hates lawyers because there's thousands of lawyers in every city trying to take your money. There's very few of us in the whole country teaching you how to protect it. So on a daily basis in law, I like to be one of the good attorneys if there are any. In regards to helping others as well, I try and focus my time on the younger generation, okay, the kids, you know, anyone, you know, younger than me, but I'll help anyone at any age, and I want to help motivate them. I want to help them with business. I want to help them with marketing. I want to help them with entrepreneurship. I want to teach them how to fish so they can fish themselves. But those are the categories that I love to help in. And of course, then there's places that we donate, and there's universities and things of that nature that we donate. But I'll be honest with you, I prefer to give to families where you can really, really see what it's doing and how happy it makes them.
Excellent. The other thing that you've been very good at is developing deep relationships with people that you meet. And you've also leveraged different peer-to-peer networks. How have those helped you be successful, and what advice would you give people around doing it well?
Yeah. So relationships are everything. I can't remember if it was you or who said it, but somebody, and I don't want to take credit for it.
I think it was Brian, that your network is your net wealth.
You know what it was? Your network is your net worth.
Yes.
And I didn't say it, but I love it because everything comes down to relationships. You know, you only have one reputation, and you never know when you're going to bump into someone and who you're going to meet. But your network, your relationships can build everything. And they have to be genuine. I mean, I have friendships that took me 5-10 years to build, but those are genuine friendships that will last forever. And the relationships are so important to anything you do. The most important thing in life is building and keeping relationships.
But how you do it, and this is important because I've seen you do it, and I think a lot of people who are at a really high level and do it innately, it reminds me, last week I met this gentleman who's the most amazing human I've met, and he's paralyzed from the neck down. But the first thing he says when he meets you is, you know, Charlie, I want to know how I can help you, and before this call is over, I want to know what I can do to pray for you or someone in your family.
Yeah. No, I love it. And it's a similar thing. You have to figure out how you can add value. You know, first of all, right, there's got to be a good personality fit. You have to genuinely like the person that you're talking to, otherwise it's never going to last. So you genuinely need to like that person.
And you're not going in this first meeting thinking in your head, how's this person going to help me? You especially, because I've seen this, you don't like to ask anybody for anything unless you have first provided a ton of things to them.
And it's not only don't ask them, it's when they offer things. I'll turn down what they offer 9 out of the 10 times because everybody in life is so used to everybody saying, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What can I do for them? When they have someone who's really genuine and doesn't need or even want anything from them, they open up a lot more. And then when you really do need something, they're there. And there's so many examples and circumstances where I could talk about that. I don't want to use any names, but.
Right. Yeah. And how do you consistently learn new things, new skills that don't come naturally to you? What do you do?
So I'm a audio and visual and do it over and over again type of person. As you know, I try my best to attend at least 2, if not all 3 of the Florida R360 meetings each and every other month. But I need to hear it. I need to see it. I then need to do it myself, and I need to do it a few times. So I need to do it over and over and over.
So now it makes sense because I know you're also a professor. So when you're a professor, you have to really understand things to teach people. And you're like so natural. Is that part of it also, is really learning something so well that you can teach it to others?
Yeah, I taught graduate and undergraduate business law. I got my MBA in addition to my law degree. And one of my specialties, at least what people tell me I have, is I am able to take a very, very complex subject and in a very short period of time explain it very simply. And that's important because if something's not simple, you lose everything.
So on emotional capital, which is really resilience and how you recover from deeply painful things that may have happened to you in your life, that happen to all of us. We all suffer. We're all human. How do you work yourself out of failures or really bad disappointments?
Yeah. It's tough. We've all had failures. We've all had disappointments. We've all had losses. I lost my business partner, who was a mentor to me. I lost my mother. She was in her early 60s to early on-stage Alzheimer's. I get it, and it's been very tough for me. But you need to move on. And things that I tell myself, and don't get me wrong, I'll get down. Everybody gets down. But I'll get down, but only for a few minutes, and then I will tell myself to pick myself back up. And some of the things I say in my mind is, number one, if I'm at the bottom, there's only one way to go. So that's the good news. And number two, I picture myself. I'm walking down the street. I have $100 in my pocket. I lose a 20. It falls on the floor. I'm left with $80. Well, should I stop and throw the other $80 on the floor, or should I keep going? Well, the answer is to keep going. So it's not easy, and we all have loss, and we all deal with disappointment, but it's how you deal with the loss and how you deal with the disappointment that separates the people.
Right. And, we talk a lot about cultivating a positive mental attitude. How important is that self-talk? And what do you do? What are some of your strategies, techniques?
Yeah, so being positive is so important. It's the first thing you need to do when you get up in the morning. I tell myself every single day without fault, I get up and here's what I say. I either say it to myself or I say it out loud. I say, today I can choose to have a good day or a bad day, and I'm going to choose a good day. Today I can choose for my cup to be half full or half empty, and I'm going to choose half full. It's not what happens today. It's not what's in my cup. It's how I look at it. So I choose good and I choose full. I then say to myself, look around the world. There's a lot of people who may be doing way better than me. There's also probably a lot of people who are not doing as well as me. But I remember my dad's swimming story. I say, stay in your lane. And I remind myself, you have to be so thankful and grateful for what you have. Because listen, it could always be better and it could always be worse. And then I say to myself, when something happens that's really great, you feel on top of the world like it's never going to change. And when something happens on the other end that's really low, you feel at the bottom like it's never going to change. And I say to myself every day, it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is. And it's not what happens today. It's not what happens this week. It's not what happens this month or even this year, but what happens over the course of your lifetime of how you judge yourself. And I say that to myself every single day to put myself in that positive mindset, because if you don't have a positive attitude, forget it. The rest of the day is already gone.
Well, I remember you were having a bad day once and you went out to your car.
Yep.
You came back and you said, outstanding. And later I'm like, what the heck was that about? Yeah. And you were watching, I don't know, a 6 or 7 minute YouTube clip. Tell us about that, because I thought that was brilliant. And now you have me watching that YouTube video.
Well, I'll tell you even a funnier story. That was Jesse Itzler, who I heard speak. I've heard everyone speak. I used to speak 50, 100 times a year.
And who is he, and why is this video important for you?
Jesse Itzler has been a very successful business owner. Mm-hmm. He's probably one of the best speakers, if not the best speaker I've ever heard. And he talks about being positive, not quitting, motivation. The words you speak matter. And, just a week ago, I was walking the neighborhood with my son, and my son started to get tired. And I said, no, we don't get tired. And I put on Jesse Itzler's 7-minute video, and I said to Sebastian, how are you doing? The only thing you tell me, Sebastian, is outstanding. Sebastian, how you doing? Outstanding, Dad. Are you tired? Dad, why would I get tired? I don't get tired. So it's not just me who watches it. I show my son, and It helps the whole family.
So give the viewers context of what you're talking about.
So it's a video, and Jesse Itzler, essentially he was a runner, and he was able to run. I'm just making it up.
He wanted to run like 100 miles, right?
Yeah, but he couldn't make it past mile 35,
right.
And he heard some ex-Navy SEAL on a podcast talking about how he got someone who had never run before to run 100 miles, and Jesse said, "This is crazy. How could he do it?" And he hired the guy to come to his house.
He just called him and he showed up.
He cold called him, right? Yeah. Make your own luck.
Right.
And the guy shows up at Jesse's house, and he meets with Jesse.
And he looks like a redneck from the bayou with a big beard.
Yeah, tattoos everywhere.
And his wife's like, who the hell is this guy?
And he says to Jesse, he said, today we're going to do 3 things and only 3 things. He said, number 1, okay, we are going to be thankful. So when we're running every lap, what are we thankful for? What are we grateful for? Because things get hard, whatever that may be, family, business, but we're here and we got to be thankful. That's number one. Number two is, how are you doing? Anytime I ask you, it's outstanding, because the words you speak matter. If you think something and you say something.
I'm tired, I'm this.
1 second.
You're doing outstanding, so it's that self-talk.
Correct. And the last thing was, he says, we're not going to die in the chair. And what does that mean? We're not going to give up. Either we exhaust everything and we fall down on the pavement, but we're not going to sit down in a chair and just give up. So the point of the whole story is, be grateful, be thankful, be positive, and the words that you speak matter. So it's no different in life than in business. Anything I ever said I was going to do, I did. There's not one thing I wanted to do that I didn't do. I had a vision. I said I was going to do it, and I accomplished it. But it's so important. The words you speak matter.
Absolutely. So now going to spiritual. I know that, your family's, very spiritual. You were raised a certain way. How important has that been in your foundation? How important it is in your life today?
So we have a mixed family. I grew up, I'm Jewish. My wife is Italian Catholic. We were both somewhat religious. I had a bar mitzvah. She would go to church once in a while. Right now, obviously, we have the blended religious family.
Right.
We have 2 boys, Sebastian's 8 and Nicholas is 3. And for us, it's really important to show them both religions, but not too much of both religions. So we're not going to temple, we're not going to church. But of course, we're doing Hanukkah, we're doing Christmas, we're doing Passover, we're doing Easter, and we're showing this respect for all religions and all culture. But to me, it's more spiritual than it is religion. And to me, and if you ask Sebastian, he would have told you this when he was 4 years old, what's the most important thing in life? Sebastian will tell you to be nice to people. So I don't care what the spirituality is, what the religion is, it's all about being nice to people and helping people and accepting others, because everybody in this world is different.
Yeah, if you look at at least the 3 Abrahamic religions, it really comes down to loving yourself and loving others unconditionally and treating others as you want to be treated. Really, those are the
and I heard someone say, don't treat others how you want to be treated, treat others how they want to be treated.
Correct. And how the last thing, we have people from every faith and religion and define spirituality very broadly. It's really trying to figure out and connect to, what is your purpose? What are your gifts? And how are you using those gifts to help others? How important for you is being connected to your own life purpose?
No, it's very important. And, right now through our 360, we're trying to find and build our family purpose. And we're the majority of the way there. Some of the meetings has really helped me with that. And now we're talking it over with my wife. But forgetting just the individual purpose, what's the family purpose? What are the family goals? What are the family objectives? And we're a good way through of it, and R360 has been a great help, but right now we're finalizing that family purpose.
Great. And I want to end with, you have an amazing wife, Ashley, and family, and you've hosted us at your home. And if I asked a lot of your friends if they could encapsulate your values, they would say 3 things: family, they'd say ambition, and gratitude.
Yeah.
Tell us how important it is to have the right life partner and be aligned with values, and why those values are important to you.
Yeah, it's so important. Growing up, I had an uncle on my mother's side, and I'll never forget it. He said, you can marry someone that's going to help you build your life, or you can marry someone that's going to help take away from your life. And I never forgot it. Till this day, I still think about it all the time, and he's so right. I married my wife, Ashley, who's just been fantastic. She's the best mother. She's a great partner. She's selfless, and she also has a great family. When you marry the person, as we all know, you also marry the family. So I got very lucky, not only with Ashley, but with her family as well.
And those values, family, ambition, and gratitude, why are those the center of your world?
I think we all achieve to be what we've learned. If you grow up in a household where, it's invest in stocks, invest in stocks, invest in stocks, chances are you're going to invest in stocks. I grew up in a household where it was buy real estate, buy bonds. It's probably no big surprise. I buy real estate and I buy bonds, and I only have a little bit of stocks. But in my family, it was always about family. It was always about ambition. It was always about gratitude.
And is ambition for you more of like achieving your full potential, whatever that is?
Yeah, it's achieving your full potential, but even more important than that, it's trying your best. You know, my parents, they never cared if I won or lost. It was, did you try your best? Did you leave every single thing that you have out there on the field or whatever you're doing? And I have the same thing for my son. I don't care if he scores a goal in soccer. I don't care if he wins the game. I do care if he tried his hardest. And I want him, no matter what he's doing in life, no matter what both of them are doing in life, that they always try their hardest, whether it's in marriage, whether it's in sports, whether it's in school, whether it's in business. But I want them to always try and reach their full potential. Whatever happens, happens, as long as they tried their best.
Great. Then I'll end with gratitude, and the gratitude is for you being here today. The gratitude is for you from the first day that you met me saying, hey, we should create something that really is about family, it's about legacy, and a peer-to-peer group that's really helping bring these individuals together who can change the world for the better. So thank you very much for that.
Absolutely, and thank you. And you know, R360 and the entire R360 team has just been phenomenal. And I've gotten so much, selfishly, for me and my family. We've learned so much, and we've made such great friends. So it's really been the best thing for us ever.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.